Hello people of the internet world watching videos that have to do with cars. Welcome to this, my 1990 Honda CRX Si Restoration series with a freshly, almost painted correctly engine bay. If you're new here or you missed out on the previous video of this project, I had just finished painting the engine bay and absolutely making a mess of things. In my defense, the sealer and base coat came out fantastic without flaw. I was super excited at that point until I laid out my clear coat. Long story short, what ended up happening was an incorrect pressure setting because I went off of head pressure rather than gauge pressure because the technical data sheet did not properly list one for the brand of clear coat I was using. It was my fault, but nevertheless, I can't leave this engine bay looking like this, and I can't exactly wet sand it all out because there's just not enough material to get it perfectly flat and still give protection to the base coat. Now, some of you might be saying it's just an engine bay, it doesn't matter, you're not gonna see 90% of that once everything is assembled in there, and you would be correct. However, if you're gonna do something, it's worth doing right. And if you're incapable of doing it right, then failure is a way of learning. Everything from over here is all shot out in one coat, thick coat, but it looks fine. Here, not so much. Thanks to my love for detailing, I have a wide variety of body shop utensils that should be able to knock this task out. This also looks like an octopus, doesn't it? Like a little baby octopus. I was really hoping I had enough clear coat on here that I could have just did a cut and buff, polished out, and called it a day. But as you can see right here, there's a bunch of little microscopic white dots and cracks. That's gone all the way down through the clear and is disrupting my base. There was a little bit of misted overspray from the second coat of clear right behind the brake booster, but as you see, it hides the entire spot. So that just needs a cut and buff. One of the downsides of painting in an engine bay is it's kind of like spitting into the wind. Everything that comes out of you comes back at you. I don't know if that makes sense. It might seem a little bit counterintuitive to start polishing this side when I have to fix the other side, but I need to also make sure this doesn't need to get resprayed as well. This is where the air box mounts. Nope, you're not gonna see this either when the engine's assembled. Oh yeah, that's shining up nice. Yep, that'll do. No more overspray. Now you could make the argument that I should just sand the entire engine bay and do a new coat on the whole thing at once, but I have to make sure I leave enough product to be able to spray the car with. Tech tip, 5 inches is not 6 inches. When ordering sandpaper discs, it's important to know that fact about numbers, especially when a box of sandpaper costs you $75, because my sander is 6 inches. Luckily I have a 5-inch interface. Well, that's gonna work real well. So much for buying dust extraction sandpaper. The final part of this equation is not just the engine bay, but also all of the black primer that I applied to the car. This black color build primer was essentially my 3rd layer of primer that I've done on this car since bare metal, and it might not have made sense at first, but it will now. Well, this is gonna be buttery smooth. Black primer sanded out in 600 grit will give you a Bodywork preview of what your black paint will look like when it's finally sprayed out. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. It doesn't look as good on camera, but man, in person, that's gonna be nice. Now, as far as this is concerned, they put this access hole here just for this reason, because they knew one day someone would be scuffing this engine bay and they would need to scuff the side of the engine mount. You know how fun it is ramming your fingers into these little crevices? It's my favorite. None of this is visible when the car is assembled. Literally none of it. It's the following day. I have a Kylie on board, and now this. Soft edge mask. Smooth brain.
No lumps and bumps or valleys or humps.
What? To lock it in place. And then we got a soft edge. Masking off a vehicle before it goes in a paint booth is not one of those tasks you want to phone it in on and cut corners, because if you do, you'll end up with a bunch of primer colored triangles. Which side is tape here? Okay. Okay. You sling that around and then we can just ta-da-da! And with the magic of cameras, I saved you all many hours of labor. Ready to go. It's the following day. Some of you may have noticed in past painting videos that Paint suits don't exactly fit me very well because I'm tall and spindly. So this company has been making paint guns since 1888, sent me a paint suit. This isn't a sponsored video, but I'm giving them a shout out because I finally have a paint suit that actually fits me. Along with one for Kylie and a whole bunch of other stuff too. One more wax and grease session. I don't want to be wasteful with my base coat because I need to make sure I have enough base coat to actually paint the car. I don't have a paint shaker, so I have to stand here for like 20 minutes and just stir. I love this color, it's so pretty. It's got like a nice milky brown to it. I got these little cups I can use to mix up small batches. The problem is I don't have the correct adapter for my paint gun, so I have to waste a little. So I want 2 ounces, this ain't a lot. Yeah, it's still about 2 ounces. I use a little anti-static wipe before I spray. It sounds weird to say this, but I feel with painting cars, your attitude goes a long way. For whatever reason, when I stepped into the booth, I just had a gut feeling that this was gonna get knocked out of the park and everything was gonna go well. And that actually translated to the work that came out of the end of the paint gun. It's kind of like studying your ass off before a test and actually doing well. Not saying that you can't completely fail, but I think it betters your odds. Perfect. Now mix up clear coat. There we go. Yeah, a little over 3 ounces. That's enough for 2 coats. That's perfect. As I mentioned before, the engine bays on these cars originally don't have clear coat. They're just shot in the base coat and left as is, which makes them more susceptible to scratches, and why in previous builds I've done a satin clear coat over the base to make it look OEM but more durable. But with a metallic black car, doing a gloss clear coat I think will add that extra bit of contrast while still looking OEM to the natural materials found in the engine bay, which typically don't have any gloss to them.
Woo! And that, my friends, is how you lay out clear coat. Oh my God, did that come out so much better now.
Da-da-da! It's 2 days later, it's out of the booth, it's ready to go. The final step should hopefully be a quick one. If I don't burn through anywhere on this black primer, then technically it doesn't need to be sealed. If I do burn through, then it's gonna need seal. This will be a little extra level of protection so I can go faster with the DA. In case you didn't see the past bodyworking videos on this, I suggest watching them. But anyway, I brought the entire car down to bare metal, epoxy primed it, bodyworked it, epoxy primed it again, sanded that, and then I got this black color build primer because I'm painting the car its original color, which is flint black metallic. The black primer allows me to get a better look at the bodywork before I say it's good to go to spray the base and clear on. You can see the edges where I taped like a pencil with, that way I wouldn't burn through. It honestly doesn't matter if I burn through because it's getting sealed. I was on the fence whether it needed to be sealed or not, but it's kind of silly not to seal it. It doesn't hurt to seal it. It's good practice to seal it. So seal it. Kylie's on the bumper project because these have to get sanded out and body worked. And that is another area, yet again, where I messed up in this project, thinking that the bumper covers would be a quick and easy thing to scuff out and get ready to spray. They needed way more body working than what it looked like on the surface. You can see right here how nice that this color build primer laid out. So it's really easy to sand and see how my bodywork is gonna look once I have paint on there. Darker colors accentuate the bodywork of a car even more once it's sprayed out, but then when you add metallics or pearls to the mix, if there are any scratches left behind, the metallic flakes will orient inside those scratches and accentuate them drastically once the paint is sprayed out. I gotta edge it obviously, but I can already tell just with the liquid on there. Oh man. Oh yeah. Oh, that's gonna look so good! For anyone that has ever painted or bodyworked a vehicle before, after spending months of sanding and repeatedly telling yourself on how you'll never do this again and wanting to rage quit and just pay someone else to finish it for you, it's moments like this, spray that. It's moments like this that kind of feel like small victories. Oh yeah. Oh, that's magic. But they're short-lived when you realize you still have more work to do. It's like how trains turn around. Still good? Now I can rotate? Yes. Still good? And with the magic of video editing, I will turn 2 hours of labor into 8 seconds of footage for your viewing pleasure. For those of you who have been watching this entire process, you know this is the side that had the most body work that I had to do on it. So I'm kind of nervous. It looked pretty good before the black primer went on, but this shows everything. Quick wipe and see. Oh yeah. That looks good. I don't see any dimples. As they say, a DA keeps the dent doctor away. That no one said that.
And how's the door look? The door looks fabuloso. That right there is the meat and potatoes of the car. Done. The hardest part about edging all that stuff out is I can't use this because it just spins too fast on fine edges that it'll flatten them out or just burn through. And if I use a hand pad, I also have to be careful because if I go too much onto the bodywork surfaces, I'll start creating waves and that will show through when I have the base and clear on there. This is so critical not to screw up. Areas like this around where the glass goes are completely covered by the rubber and the adhesives for the glass, so you don't see any of it, but it's still getting paint nevertheless, so it needs to have tooth. These gray Scotch pads are what I did the bay in before they got base and clear. It's between 800 and 1,000 grit-ish, depending on how hard you push. I don't know how you'd even measure that, because you could probably make a pancake into 36 grit if you put enough force behind it. I don't know what that'd be a crepe. I don't know why this stuff smells like Fruit Loops when you sand it. I think my nose is broken. See, just gotta give this enough tooth that paint adheres to it. Rather than make an entire video on sanding, it's the following day and a part has arrived in the mail because, as you'll notice, there is 6 holes in the front of this thing. The original bumper cover that came off of this car had giant holes cut out for aftermarket fog lights, so I purchased this one all the way from Deutschland, which had a much larger license plate. Just as an added bit of precaution, because I'm filling a hole, that's what he said, I want a bit of a taper to this. That way it's cone on the front, cone on the rear. That way the epoxy can't come out front or back. Does that make sense? So just barely open up the front. Do the same to the back side. Oh, that is rusty. You can tell this came from Germany. That's not a Scotch pad. This is a Scotch pad. It's a BB. Make sure it's clean. You gotta make sure your hole is nice and clean or else it won't stick. 1 EA cardboard mixing flap. 1 EA smallest popsicle stick in the world. Don't eat the epoxy. I know it's a popsicle stick. I know it looks like licorice and vanilla, but you don't eat it. I guess I'm gonna use my finger on the back side. Just gotta kind of smush it in there. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Kind of a big hole. I'm gonna have to do 2 coats because this is a very big hole to fill. It's starting to harden up a little bit, make it a little bit easier to do this. Gotta go fast though. Definitely gonna take 2 sessions to do that because the hole was so large. It just kind of stalactite, and what's the opposite of a stalactite? A magpipe? That's a bird. This thing's constipated. It doesn't want to, oh shit, that's too much. I'm gonna try to add a little bit of tooth to this.
I don't know if it was the chemicals or the sheer amount of work I realized I still had left to do, but
this whole area from the factory is just done in base. There's no clear on it. I can't really mess with that for at least 24 hours so that way it can get fully hard. So it looks a little goopy, but it's gonna get sanded flat and then a flexible glaze will go over it. Oh, this is lovely. Okay.
if you thought stressing about the paint in the engine bay was pointless, let me introduce you to the back of this car, because this is 100% hidden when the vehicle is fully assembled.
30 minutes. 2 people. 30 minutes. But did we do a good enough job? It looks pretty well scuffed. Yeah. I will admit though, it's actually starting to look like a car again. It's like a whack-a-mole. Whack-a-Sarah. So satisfying. These guys clip into their places. I didn't want to do anything up here until the paint was good and hard, and it's been over 24 hours now. Moral of the story, air pressure. Did I ever tell you that you're watching an automobile channel? Because if you didn't know that, now you do. I'm coming up on 5 years of owning this thing now. It's crazy it's gone by that fast. Just out of curiosity, let's see if I have anything registering in my catch can. I mean, maybe it's got a little bit of dampness to it. Not bad. Catch cans are critical on direct inject turbo engines. I know I review brand new cars on this lift, and a lot of you ask my opinions when it comes to actually owning them. I've owned my 2015 Forester Gump here since brand new, and that's coming up on 11 years now. I put it on top of the toolbox.
Do you ever set something down and then forget to turn your brain back on?
Okay, ready? There you go. I personally don't mind skid plates that you have to remove to do your oil change because that just gives you a reason to clean underneath there. Using a little bit of my own ungreased, the beauty of not being paid flat rate to work on your own vehicle.
And by no means is that a dig at dealer technicians, rather sympathy for the unfortunate situation that they have to work with them.
Underside of the crash bars. It's not a full-on detail job, but what it does do is gives me a nice clean reference to do a quick visual inspection, make sure there's no damage or anything cracked or worn. Oh my Lanta. I should probably get a taller green monster because this guy doesn't really reach. Make a mess. Hey, look at that, perfect. I do like that they still use a metal oil pan and a metal drain plug on the 2.3s. I realize this has nothing to do with paint and bodywork on a Honda CRX, but all of you watching right now likely have a daily driver or a daily bicycle or a daily horse. Come on, you loose it. Throw a bunch of paper towels in the slide because the engineers hate technicians when they design this. While I do use an OEM Motorcraft filter, I go above the standard of what the dealer uses for the grade and quality of oil. Costs a lot more, but I want my vehicle to actually last a long time, so I just got finished cleaning.
Some might say that maintaining vehicles today is far more complicated than it was in the past. And from someone that has worked on both cars 50 years old and brand new, I will say that it is all relevant to your education level, and anyone is capable of learning.
Okie dokie. This is probably the cutest thing you're ever gonna see. Hold on, I'll grab it. Look at the size of the oil fill cap.
What the hell?
Isn't it adorable?
It's like the size of a large grape.
Some fresh Earl. So it's 5 quarts.
This is 6. You need one more.
I'm gonna drain my catch can. I conveniently put the drain right here in the wheel well so it'd be easy to get to. I doubt there's even a shot glass worth. There's probably like, I don't even know if it's gonna be enough to drain out of there. No, no. Yeah, literally nothing came out of the catch can. So there's not even, there's like nothing in it. Gotta reset my oil change reminder. Hold to reset oil life. Oil life reset, good to go. Daily driver oil change accomplished. Thank you people of the internet for allowing me to put that in a YouTube video because you see almost every waking second of my life and I have to get that done. If you'd like to see more videos on the Bronco, let me know and I'll order some parts for it. Also, I'm gonna do my diffs and transmission and transfer case fluids. Next video you'll see will be the last video on this car before it is in final paint. So thank you guys for watching and I'll see you soon with another video. Bye.